some money. Money, money, money,
Hello, welcome to Savior Sundays episode number 3. My name is Michael Pratt, coming to you from our Savior Sundays studio. Hey, I want to first of all thank you guys for your subscriptions. Continue to subscribe, share it with your friends. Really excited. So this week, it's not a fun topic. I'm going to be honest with you. No one likes to talk about budgeting. Unless maybe you're an accountant and then you do. But for the most part, most households dislike talking about budgets or budgeting their money. So going to cover a couple things real high level. Hopefully this will help. Obviously, any follow-up questions, let me know. We'll be happy to meet with you one-on-one and talk to you a little bit about that. So let's talk about a budget. What is it, right? So what are the objectives of a budget? Well, there's a couple things you need to understand. Number one, you need to understand how much money you have. I mean, I know this is going to sound really simple, but some of these tips are going to help, and you're going to perhaps revisit this and go, you know what? Maybe I need to reevaluate my budget, and that's the kind of the goal here. So first thing is, let's understand how much money you make, right? And then where are you spending the money that you have? Now, there are a couple things that kind of go into that, right? Where are you spending it? How are you spending it? Understanding your expenses, right? So what does it cost you to live on a daily basis? And then this is the tough one. This causes a lot of heartburn. It's your wants versus your needs. So what do I want to have versus what do I need to have? So couple steps here to get you started. Now you may say, hey, Mike, I'm already a proficient budgeter and I have it all figured out and I have it all on a spreadsheet. Well, I'm going to throw a challenge out to you. At the end of that spreadsheet, there's probably something left over. Hopefully there's something left over. If there's not, then I would tell you go back and check your budget. But here's the thing. With what's left over, that's what we call unbudgeted money. And so the question is, what are you doing with that money? What are you doing with the money that you're not accounting for? And that's important. So let's go back. Step number 1, first thing you need to do to create an effective budget is actually determine what are your fixed expenses versus what are your variable expenses. Let's talk about fixed expenses. What does it cost you to live? Whether you have a home or an apartment, you have some type of payment to live on a monthly basis. What's that number? With that comes things like utilities, gas, electric, all of those things, right? Those are what we call fixed expenses. Those are things that you have to pay for on a monthly basis. Your car is a fixed expense. Your insurance is a fixed expense. Then you have to write all those down and figure out where you're at. And then we start to look at variable expenses. This is where it gets tough because this is where you make choices like, do I need cable? Do I need the gym membership that I go to twice a week or once a month? Do I need the tanning membership that I may or may not use? Do I need to spend money going out to eat all of the time? Food is a variable expense, right? How you spend that. If you go to the grocery store, are you on a budget? Do you plan your trips to the grocery store? Are you one of those impulse buyers? Just because the party size bag of Doritos are 2 for $5, do you really need them? Those are questions you have to ask. Those all rack up to what we call variable expenses. Once you figure out kind of your fixed expenses and your variable expenses, hopefully, if you're living within your budget, you've got some money left over. This is where a lot of people get into trouble. They don't account for the money that's left over. That's that unallocated budget. And that is where people tend to fall off the wagon, if you will, and not save. And so when you create your budget, I tell people it's wise to make savings a fixed expense because you want to make sure that you're paying yourself first. And there's different buckets that you put your money in with regards to savings. There's short-term savings and there's long-term savings. And I'm not talking about anything that comes out of your check. I'm talking about what you actually receive in your hand in your paycheck. There should be some money left over, and how you're allocating that can be very important to your future. And so if you start creating an expense, a fixed expense for savings, you're going to see how you can certainly tackle any debt that you might have, which is a fixed expense, and any future savings or future spending that you may want. So creating short-term goals, well, then create an item for it. If you want to take a trip, right? Create it, make it a budget, make it an expense. Right? Start saving for it. Don't impulse it. Don't put it on a credit card and then say, oh, I'll pay it off, because that's just not smart. So if you start budgeting for those things, and that's things that you want, well, then it makes life a lot easier. All right. So you have to understand where that unbudgeted money is going, and that helps people drive towards paying off debt. Now, we're going to talk about paying off debt in our next episode because that is a whole topic within itself. And there are a lot of things that you can do to help pay off debt quicker, and we're certainly going to tackle that. I'm going to come back to the unallocated budget for a minute, because this seems to be an area that strikes a lot of people as extra money, surplus money. Well, I can go do whatever. If you're looking at your budget and you account for expenses and you account for entertainment and you account for gas and you account for everything that you actually spend money on, then there really should never be any leftover money. Every single dollar should be accounted for. Okay? How do you do that? Well, remember, when you're figuring out your budget, the best way to do it, take out your bank statement, go online, go from the 1st of the month through the 30th or the 31st of the month and figure out where you're spending your money. And then from there, you could start categorizing it. If you've got a great online banking program, most of them categorize it for you. Just transfer that to a spreadsheet, an Excel sheet, a piece of paper, a whiteboard in your house, a note on the fridge, whatever. But use something to start tracking your budget. This is the number one reason why people get into a debt situation. Listen, at the end of the day, this is going to sound super profound, or maybe not, but you cannot spend more than you make. That is how people get into trouble. All right? Hey, listen, that's all I got for today. I really appreciate you watching. I want you to continue to watch it. Save Your Sundays. I'm here to help. This is Michael Pratt from the Save Your Sunday Studios. Thanks.
Cheating, bling, bling, cut the chatter. You ain't talking money, then you're talking no matter.